Cool. All right. Welcome back. Our last podcast of the year, right?
Yep. Happy
All
New
right.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy soon and happy birthday to me.
Oh, Matt, your birthday's today?
Oh,
No, my birthday's tomorrow, the 31st.
Oh, like LeBron, and there's some other guys that are right in this little shot here. LeBron turned like 41. I think you're what, 42, 43?
He's like 38.
28.
Yeah, it will be the 50th anniversary. No, I'm going to be 57.
Congrats, man.
So yeah, I'm getting really close to your age.
You look good.
Luckily,
57,
you're
but you
always
actually
going to be
look
older
good.
than me.
You look good, man. Trust me. You're a good-looking guy.
Matt's glowing. He's been eating his fish.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'll eat Matt's been eating like raw steak for all week.
Yeah,
so
I mean, all I
he
eat
looks
is
good.
meat. So
Yeah. All right. When you hit it, man.
yeah, so yeah, so I mean, as we go into 2026, you're going to have all the investment banks come out with their predictions. Everyone, what's 2026 going to be? Only thing we know is if anyone gets it right, it's luck, it's not skill. Um, and who knows about levels? I mean, everyone, what's the market going to be? What's Bitcoin going to be? Who knows? The things we're kind of looking at, metals, rare earths, all that is really interesting. I would stay away, so people know who read, the newsletter every day. I am a believer you need to have, if you're not a trader, a fixed precious metals exposure. I wouldn't get involved right now. Luckily for me, I cut my silver exposure way down on Friday. Helped me out yesterday. Today it's, up again. But, again, unless you're a trader, I'd let all this wash out. I think metals are going to be interesting. I think you could see the AI trade expand and people looking, more towards monetization. So we've been talking about, names like Salesforce and Now and stuff like that where, companies using AI. I've also talked in the newsletter, I added a basket to my own portfolio, and we'll do that on the wealth management side when that gets set up next year for old economy companies that are benefiting from AI. Beyond that, I think you just, you have a great methodology, something like the heat formula or whatever else, preferably not a 60-40 portfolio, but, have a great methodology, have hedges in place. Is AI a bubble? No idea. I'll be able to tell you after it bursts. That may be, next week, next month, next year, 5 years from now. So have hedges in place.
Matthew Burry.
What's that?
Matthew Burry.
Yeah. No. I'm not a permabull. I have no idea. I mean, I'm invested in all of this stuff, but I'm hedged every single day. I run a bunch of different hedging strategies internally. We'll have an ETF for that at some point next year. Really complicated, takes a lot longer than I would want it to, but that's there. So, those are my thoughts kind of, going into to next year. I don't know, anyone else have anything interesting?
I was just going to add, it's definitely up here. It's kind of a trader's market, and it's very crowded. So it's not the best time to jump in on the theme this late in the game.
Well, I mean, year end, I mean, you can't discern anything. You got tax loss selling. You've got people repositioning. The cool thing about being a retail trader, and, a guy I follow, LeShrub, actually posted this today, and I thought it was interesting, is as retail traders, we don't have a year end. I mean, we do for taxes, but we're not, measured. How did we do against the S&P Jan 1 through December 31st? So, for a retail trader, this is just normal, everyday period. We don't have to worry about rejiggering our portfolio for year end. So, for example, I want to add, more precious metals, I'm not doing it now. I don't need to be all precious metals up on Jan 2nd.
Got it.
I also want to add more Bitcoin and more crypto. I don't need that for Jan 2nd, so I can wait. No rush.
All right, let me introduce our guest. Paul, why don't you jump in here? Paul Meeks, Freedom Capital Markets, the Citadel. He teaches business. He's from Singapore. What else you got, Paul? I love Singapore too, by the way.
It's
How'd you get there, by the way?
upbringing.
Singapore's a long way away, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm always asked, were your folks in the military? No, my dad ran Dow Chemical for Southeast Asia, so I
Oh
actually
my goodness.
grew up in Hong Kong and Singapore. Didn't live in the States until I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
Oh wow.
But then has spent a lot of time in New Jersey since then. Before I moved down to Charleston, I worked for Merrill for a long time and got on that New Jersey Transit into the city every day from Princeton, New Jersey.
All right, I've
Did
been
not
out there.
miss that. But I've been covering tech almost exclusively ever since I got out of grad school in 1992. And so when the internet bubble popped, and we should probably talk about the pros and cons and compare and contrast, I managed the largest tech fund in the world for Merrill Lynch Investment Managers, $8 billion. And so I saw the bubble inflate, and then I was the most popular guy on planet Earth. And then when it popped, I got a couple of death threats. So I am very cautious and try to think through today's market as far as AI infrastructure build goes versus the infrastructure build of the dot-com era. One thing I would say, maybe a couple of things I would say that are related to that, is first of all, my bottom line is I'm actually continuing with the AI infrastructure building trade. I actually think that we're going to be strong for the next year, and I would venture to say maybe even 27, because 90% of all the gear, including the GPUs that have been purchased so far, have been bought by essentially the Mag 7 complex, plus Oracle. And I am a little bit worried about Oracle because I think they're over their skis. But these other folks believe that early and heavy spending on AI infrastructure is an absolute competitive advantage. And I don't think folks like Mark Zuckerberg, who's the nastiest guy on planet Earth, I don't think he's going to turn around based on any kind of pushback that we give him and go in the other direction. And so I expect all these companies, when we next hear from them about 4, 5, 6 weeks from now,
Yeah.
that they will reiterate, maybe even up their forecast for capital spend for 26. And of course, they're good for it, except for maybe Oracle. And so when I take a look at something like NVIDIA, right? It's the standard bearer, trades at about 25 times. The S&P 500 trades about 23 times. Right? The S&P 500, if it's lucky, grows earnings next year, maybe low double digit. And that's only that high because 40% of the S&P is in the same old tech names.
Right.
Whereas I think NVIDIA's numbers now show earnings growing next year at about 60%. I think they might be low. And so it's not that these stocks, even though they might have been up multi-fold over the years, are expensive, because their revenue and earnings have grown even faster. They haven't had any multiple compression. The only reason you would step away from the trade is you think that as we get into 27, AI infrastructure building spending just falls off a cliff. I don't know if it continues to grow very quickly, but I think that when we get to 27, we might have a plateau. We might have slow growth, but I don't think that infrastructure spending collapses. So I know this is a bubble, right? Human beings are greedy. We all want to make money fast. Yes, it's a bubble, but I think we can stay at the party for a couple of years yet. And that's kind of a contrarian call because some people think it's imminent collapse. I don't see it.
Got it. Nice.
I got to
Well,
wonder if we're due for a bit of a pullback, at least by the time
Danny.
Q4 earnings come out.
Jan, why don't you speak
So
up?
Jason Furman, the Harvard economist, said that AI expenditures in 2025 resulted in 4% of GDP growth. Like, if we don't have that, we're in a recession. So I don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
whereas we're dropping interest rates, we kind of need it. Like, there's no global economy without AI right now.
Yeah, we
Well, and
definitely
I
all.
think,
Even if you're not a tech investor, you're rooting for this thing, man. You're
Oh, yeah.
rooting for this thing.
yeah, I think that's the key point. I mean, as long as AI capex keeps up, I think this is not a valuation story. It's a spending story. The moment AI capex slows, or as Paul said, falls off a cliff, I think all bets are off. But the way I see it going into 2026, and the reason I'm bullish, and again, I'm not, hey, it's going to double, whatever it's going to do, it's going to do. And I'm bullish today, I might not be bullish tomorrow, is you've got AI CapEx and you've got an accommodative Fed. Um, the people who are out there saying bubble, 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 sell short, all of that, you're fighting those things. And I don't know that you want to do that. I mean, Jeremy, to your point, are we due for some sort of, pullback? Yeah, I mean, we're always due for that. And, if you're a trader, again, that's interesting to you. And, you can try to pick your spot. If you're an investor and this stuff goes down 2 to 5%, it's a buying opportunity. That's not a collapse.
What?
Puts.
One of the things that Jeremy said that I do think is interesting is last quarterly reporting season, despite the fact that almost to a man, meet and beat quarters, raising guidance, and some of these stocks got hit nonetheless. And so Jeremy might be absolutely right. Maybe we do have continued, which I expect, good news when these companies report late January, early February. But, if it misses the whisper number, even by a sniff, these stocks can get clobbered. We saw that last earnings season. I was actually shocked at some of the downdrafts after a couple of companies reported, and I thought, man, that stock's going to be up tomorrow. I just listened to the conference call, and it was great. So there
Paul,
could be some of that.
we have a guest. We've had a guest on. His name's Larry Tentarelli. I follow him a bit. He points out some cool stuff on the charts. Said that TSM Taiwan
Yeah.
made new highs. That's got to say something, right? I don't know. That seems to say a lot to me. What does that tell you, Matt? Or Matt, or let Paul, somebody's smart over there.
I mean,
Matt's smarter than me, so we're going with Matt.
All right, go,
Yeah,
Matt. Hit it up.
so, remember the thing about Larry is Larry's a trend follower. So, that's a bit different. He's gonna look for a breakout, and he's gonna follow that breakout until it breaks down. So a little bit different than
But
what
what
we're
I'm saying is,
talking
if,
about.
if Taiwan is hitting new highs, how could the bear story has to be pretty, I don't know,
Well, I
not
think
that strong.
the bear story for the AI infrastructure build, which is kind of counterintuitive, is it's not about demand, right? I think demand's going to continue to be strong. We see that in the reiteration of the capex. It's about supply. Like, for example, I have a buy rating on CoreWeave,
Yeah.
CRWV, and it took
Yeah.
a tumble last quarter because nothing to do with its backlog, which is revenue of many fold this year's revenue over the next 49 months. It was because they had an old school construction delay at one of their data centers. And so sometimes it's not demand, it's supply, and sometimes the supply is just construction, which is kind of weird, right? In the 21st century, we're worried about pouring concrete. But I think the supply side, building out these data centers is the biggest risk.
Like it's
Paul,
going to be too hard?
I love that you brought up CoreWeave
Yeah.
Why is that?
because it fell into my Elliott wave spot. It went
Jesus.
down like 61%, and I placed a synthetic long on it.
Yeah.
All right, you're too young to realize Elliott Wave doesn't work.
I
It
recommended
worked
it
on
in
my
the
IRIN
70s.
position the other day.
Oh my
Alright.
gosh.
I think
All right,
The,
I knew that was
box
coming.
theory works better.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned CoreWeave too. I mean, you've got a lot of people bucketing Oracle and CoreWeave kind of together.
Yeah.
So if I get you right, you're not a fan of Oracle, but you are a fan of CoreWeave.
Yeah, just because CoreWeave has a 49-month, $56 billion revenue backlog, and this year they're going to do a couple billion in revenue, so it's enormous. And they're 15-year take or pay contracts in some cases, and so again, all their spenders are the big boys, and they're good for it. The thing I worry about Oracle is essentially all of its backlog is OpenAI. About a third of CoreWeave's backlog is OpenAI, and OpenAI, remains to be seen if they are actually going to deliver those profits, because they are committed to, between now and 2030, to spend $1.4 trillion with a T.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so Oracle has an enormous backlog, but it's all OpenAI. OpenAI is very significant to CoreWeave, but it's about a third of their backlog.
All right. So, is everyone there? It feels like this was dead. But I saw this movie last night called The Thinking Game, Paul. It was about these guys at DeepMind that got bought by Google. They're trying to create, artificial general intelligence, right? And it seems to me that AI, what we're talking about now, and AGI are two completely different things. And AGI seems to be the real thing, like people reasoning, real thinking. Are we being kind of a little short-sighted by just saying, we're going to... I mean, it seems like AGI is the real thing. Any thoughts on that, Paul?
Well, I think we'll see some signs of monetization, even with the early AI in 2026. But yes, over time, when we get to that stage, which essentially says, the machines are doing our thinking, not
Yeah.
just our doing. That
Right.
is a big deal. That is a big deal, and I hope it doesn't, blow up the planet. But we'll see.
What do you think about that, Matt?
So I think you've got two aspects to it. When the AI gets smart enough to really start replacing people, again, assuming it doesn't kill us all. So assuming we're still here.
Right.
When it gets smart enough to replace everybody and then add in it goes into robots,
Right.
that changes society completely and totally. The smart AI replaces stuff like accountants, investment analysts, stuff like that. But then the physical AI replaces plumbers, car mechanics.
Right.
So, at that point, unless you are servicing, or fixing, the AI, you sort of got to wonder, what's your job? Now, that being said, every time we start getting worried that, hey, technology is going to replace people, we find new stuff for people to do. So
Good point.
hopefully
I mean,
I'm
the wheel
totally
did that,
completely
right?
wrong.
It's always a short-term displacement.
Right. I mean, the wheel displaced a bunch of people for a while.
Right, but then we found a whole bunch of other people.
And the other thing you have to know is, if you study technology trends, over the longest period of time, 100 years,
Yeah.
is typically the productivity enhancement from the new technology builds wealth, and then people
Right.
spend more, and then the economy grows. So there is a positive to it. But yeah, the jobs, just like when the dot-com era, right? We no longer needed a travel agent.
Right.
Right? Any kind of
Yeah.
like information that you used to call somebody to get a quote on something, that went away.
Right.
And so, yeah, there'll definitely be displacement. But if we have a wealthier society, we have a faster growing economy.
Dan, this is your area. This is stuff
Paul-
you like talking about. When you hit up
No,
on
I,
this
I,
one.
I know I do. Yeah, I don't know. People will need something to do. There always has to be the evolution of, like, people can't just sit around. They just fight and do nothing and cause chaos. So there will be something that comes out of it. What that is, who knows? It's anyone's guess. Paul, I did want to get your take though on MU. It's up 250%. You're a natural contrarian,
Yeah.
but normally I would say take profits,
Yeah.
but it's the only U.S. traded company that makes DRAM, the
Yep.
RAM processors, and you can have the best NVIDIA chip in the world, but if your RAM software is garbage, AI doesn't work. So
Yeah.
where do you stand on MU?
Good
So
question.
Dan, that's a great question. It's still on my buy list. It's approaching 300, but I'll probably take my target up from there. We are in a situation, as you said, Dan. There is essentially a oligopoly, right? You have Micron in the States, and then in South Korea you have SK Hynix and Samsung. And right now, and I expect, with my infrastructure build forecast, insatiable demand for the infrastructure, which means insatiable demand for very scarce chips, and this oligopoly, which for many, many years acted irrationally. When things got good, they brought too much supply in the market. In the last couple of years, they've started to act more rationally, and this is the sweetest of all sweet spots for Micron. The only thing that really worries me is you saw this news just the other day about NVIDIA getting in bed with the company that makes the language processing units. And if the language processing units are as billed from Grok, then you have a situation where maybe in the future they won't need high bandwidth memory from Micron. So that's probably the biggest threat. Language processing units, if they do take hold, may unseat with LPUs instead of GPUs Micron. But in the near term, and of course I don't see that for years, but in the near term, man, it can't get any better. I mean, these guys are going to do like $40 earnings per share.
Right.
Wow.
Got it. All right, let me move on. So Matt wrote an article here yesterday. He basically said AI splinters in 2026. Last year, as long as you had a cool symbol, your stock went up, etc. He said AI was one trade in 2025. AI becomes different businesses wearing the same Halloween costume. Three camps. So there's splinters. Matt, talk about that. Where are we splintering to?
So I think you're splintering to a bunch of different areas. Certainly what I talked about before, where it's companies that are able to monetize AI today. Companies that then are using AI to improve their earnings. So and I think there's some software that could be good coming into this year. 2025, the year's not over yet. AI kicks software's ass. I don't know that that's going to be the same thing going forward. Next year. Now, what I don't worry about is the Mag 7 from the standpoint of the Mag 7 is the market. We just launched Mago today, which is our Mag 7 with puts to generate income. The market doesn't. You don't have a situation where the Mag 7 goes down and the market goes up. So I do think you still need the Mag 7. Interesting to hear Paul bang the drum on NVIDIA. I mean, I've always thought NVIDIA is a must own. I wonder a lot how much alpha you get from owning NVIDIA here, but I think you've got to own it. But I think that trade expands, into next year.
Right.
Yeah, NVIDIA has been in kind of a sawtooth for several months and quarters now.
Right. Okay, so Matt, you said that AI 2025 rewarded AI exposure. 2026 rewards AI economics. Basically, I mean, you got to pull in some cash. So where are we at on those? You got the bucket A, the toll collectors, bucket B, the real monetizers, bucket C, the quiet second order winners, and bucket D, the
So
losers.
at some point, a theme matures. So in the beginning, back in the internet boom, remember when, all you had to do is put a .com at the end of your name and you go up.
Yeah.
And that works
Yeah.
at the beginning. But then, the marketplace matures and people start, saying, hey, where's the earnings?
Didn't
You know,
work
where,
for me, Matt. PatNeville.com went nowhere, bro. Trust me. I tried, man.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you did.
PattyNeville.com, PatoNeville.com, none of them did anything, bro.
Didn't have the right spec.
You know what? You should do Pat Neville AI. See if that works for you.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So,
All right, go
I think we expand beyond that. I hate to say this because it's usually a cop out, but I mean, it becomes a stock picker's market where, you don't just throw money at, the Mag 7, Palantir, and, Broadcom and Oracle. There's other trades here, and you want to broaden it out. And then, obviously the infrastructure stuff, the energy, all of that. And then you really, you want to focus on things like, AI in healthcare. That's going to be massive. All the stuff moving to space, which, I mean, we nailed that theme. So that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Got it.
Space is still fun.
Yeah, I mean, again, for lack of a better way to describe it, the companies that we have right now are moonshots. I mean, there are companies that could be up 100%, they could be down 50. So I think you have to have them. You just need to size those, accordingly until that market matures, until we get like a SpaceX, until we get an Anduril. There's that robotics company that I always forget that's private. There could be some really cool IPOs this year.
Right.
Yeah, this
And if Elon is listening, SPCX is available.
All right, go ahead, Paul.
it'll be very interesting to see if and when and at what valuation not only SpaceX but OpenAI comes.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, there could be some really interesting.
And I think SpaceX
We're
is-
known for 2x. We haven't launched a new 2x in a while because no companies really interest me. But I'm waiting. I mean, OpenAI, Anduril, SpaceX. Those are going to be a lot of fun.
Matt, I'm going to give you a 2x right now. Something that, because we talked about 1999, no one's talking about. If AI is a bubble, that's because we have an issue with data and breaching, and no one's talking about Cisco trading under the S&P for forward PE at like 18. Paul, what do you think of Cisco? Like, is it going to make a comeback?
Well, I think it's already made some sort of a comeback. It was essentially a stagnant, old school 90s charmer that hadn't done anything for years. They're now getting some traction. I haven't bought it, even though I appreciate the fundamentals, because believe it or not, it still has, when you blend in total revenues, not enough growth to get me jazzed. I do like the sub valuation versus the S&P, but I'm still in my technology universe. See other AI infrastructure plays, either direct or indirect, like a Cisco, that have greater growth prospects, and so I might pay up for the growth. But it is a company that's made a nice comeback. And then you also take a look at a company like IBM, right, that was given up for dead. Once we get through AI and we get into quantum computing, IBM might become the hot dot. After all these decades.
Let's stop there for a second because that's really interesting and a lot of people miss. People in quantum are chasing IONQ and Rigetti and qubits. Yeah. And again, those I look at, those are moonshot companies. They can be up 100%, they can be down, 75. But if you look at it, who has the potential to be the real winners in quantum? I mean, it's NVIDIA and Google, but it's also IBM.
Yeah.
And that's a name that, Pat and I grew up with. That was a must own, back in our day, and it's just been left for dead. So yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah,
brought
you
that
have to
one
give
up.
that company now. Their CEO isn't brand new; he's a couple of years on the job now, but a pretty nice turnaround in redirecting that company. There is one
Agreed.
private quantum company that I think has the goods. It's
Yeah.
called Quantum. I imagine Quantum goes public in 26. Quantum is the quantum business from Honeywell, you know, the
Right.
industrial conglomerate, and I
Yeah,
think I think
that would be cool. The other one that I like, and it's still a SPAC, I believe, is CCCX. It's one of the Churchills,
Yeah.
and they're merging with a quantum company whose name escapes me at the moment. But I've written about that in the newsletter before.
So we're kind of doing some analysis here. What about Tesla? That seems to kind of it's gone a long way. No one really seems to be talking about it, do they? Or Matt,
Oh,
what do you think about
overbought.
it? Overbought?
Of course, my
Overbought.
problem with that one is it's been overbought forever.
Yeah.
Right.
So I miss the move.
So I mean, basically, Paul, it's pricing in the robot business or whatever. That's where we are.
Well,
That it?
yeah, if you take a look at their EV business, it's kind of a dumpster fire. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
it's not bad. It's like really bad. And
Okay.
so all that value is based on, the Carnival Barker, Elon Musk, um, making the case for autonomous driving. And I'm not so sure that when it comes to autonomous driving, that the play might be Waymo. It might be
Right.
Waymo rather than Tesla. I'm not.
Well, I
I'm
thought
not that
so.
convinced it's
There's
just Tesla.
autonomous driving, but there's also the robotics business that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that's
So
what.
those things better take off because right now they're being priced for, world beaters.
So you're negative. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, so Tesla is a strange company. You've got a celebrity CEO, which generally helps. Like, a Jensen Wong at this point, having him in there helps. Everyone knows who he is. Elon, because of, what he did in politics, is now, you love him or you hate him. And so, he's got some haters there. And, for that company to make sense, like Paul said, self-driving and or robotics have to hit. If you're looking at it as an EV company, is it overvalued? Yep.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it as a linchpin in physical AI, then it's a buy. And it's interesting. So we've got 2x long and 2x short. In the U.S., they buy 2x short. In Korea, they buy 2x long. Koreans love Tesla. A lot of Americans hate it. And, I think part of that's Elon. And then part of that is it a car company or is it a physical AI company? I own it. I think it's a physical AI company. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
All right, let me ask you a question. So my wife, I have a Tesla, right? Model Y, love it. It's sick. My wife does the full self-driving, loves it, wouldn't live without it. We're paying up for it, right? So, then you have this old school concept that the car is going to be your new whatever self-contained life unit or whatever they used to call it. That probably has that gone away or whatever? Because that's still like coming, right? I mean, you can log into my kid and I were listening to Lord of the Flies on the way to his basketball practice last night on Audible. It was boring, but it was cool. So explain it seems like that's still out there now, or
Pat, please tell me you're not doing any more than just listening to stuff in your car while you're driving.
Well, no, but my wife could do- I
Therein
drive.
lies your problem. I mean, you
But
could
my-
put a ton of crap in your car, but at some point you've got to focus on the road.
But if it's full self-driving, my wife uses it, and we're in L.A., dude, like hardcore traffic, and she loves it. So you're just sitting in there, my kid's there, she's doing her stuff, blah, blah, blah.
I
so
mean,
you're in there.
if they win on full self-driving, and Paul makes a great point, that's an if, then yeah, all of a sudden your car becomes your office on your commute.
Oh, dude, because
Yeah.
it is. And let me just say one more thing. Like, I've looked at cars recently. The BMW, they suck. The BMW EVs suck. there's no good EVs out there besides Tesla. I mean, and if you want to buy like an EV from BMW, it's like 3 times the cost. I mean, is this more of a function of EV?
Well, but
or is this more
I-
like
I-
a function of Tesla? Really,
I
right?
think you've got two different things. You've got
I
EV
agree.
and you've got self-driving.
Well,
So
maybe.
would I,
Yeah.
if I were driving a lot, buy self-driving? Yes. I mean, I hardly ever drive. So for me, I don't trust it. You know, I mean,
I hate it.
Well, I mean, me and you and probably Paul have older children. Nothing is more terrifying than sitting in the passenger seat while your kid is driving.
Right.
Oh, God.
We're
And
talking
you're
about that with
pushing
my
on the
kid.
imaginary brake, and it's not working.
Right.
So full self-driving scares the crap out of me. But if I drove a lot, yeah, I would do that. EV is something different. I have no interest in an EV. I don't want to have to remember to plug my car in. Yeah, getting gas is a pain in the ass, but I've been doing that my whole life. I know, all right, the meter is down here. I got to go get gas. I know where the gas stations
But you
are.
live in Connecticut, dude, right? If you live in Phoenix or LA, you have sun all day, all night, and everything's free. You're just rolling. You're rolling. No gas fees, or whatever. No energy costs for driving your
I'm
car.
just saying it's two different things.
All right,
You know,
Jay, why don't you say something, man? You're awfully quiet down there, bro.
I mean, there's other technologies that Tesla's, got kind of the ground floor on. I mean, the solar panels that came out not so long ago, where it replaces your roof tiles with solar panels that were highly efficient. I mean, you combine that stuff, and yeah, it's its own economy. Sure, you can charge your car by plugging into your solar panels. So you do have a point there. You get free energy. But I mean, what it comes down to is what can you do with it? What is the utility there? Is it valuable to the consumer? And the average consumer, I mean, they're commuting to and from work. They don't want to have to think about plugging their car in. And it's like Matt said. I mean, if you have an issue with self-driving, that's just like having a teenager in a driver's seat. So,
Dude, I don't understand. You're telling me it's harder to plug your car in, which is I could just walk outside and do it in 2 seconds right now, and be back, and then driving down and filling
you've got to
up with
remember.
gas?
You've got to. You've got
Remember
to. I
what?
mean, it's
Remember
not
to
just
plug your
plugging it
car
in
in?
once. I mean,
You
how
plug
long
in-
does it take you to charge your Tesla?
How long does it take? Do you
Yeah.
plug in your phone ever, Matt? Yes. Right?
But I'm
You ever-
sitting here
you
at my
forget to
desk.
do
I'm not
that?
sitting here with my car.
Oh, dude, you just drive into your car. It's just right there in your front thing. You just plug
Yeah,
it
but
in
how
there.
long does it take?
A second. It's right there. You just
One,
right
one, 1 second. So
4
your
seconds.
Tesla's at E.
Have you,
and
watched
you
have you
charge
ever
in
watched
a
have you
second?
ever watched the end of an NFL game where you get like 5 plays in 4 seconds? It's the same thing, right? I just walk over to my car.
I highly
pull it
doubt
out,
that.
No.
To
I
that
literally just
point-
walk out of my car, go over to the side of my house, get the Tesla thing, and plug it in.
I will take the over on that. I doubt that.
10 seconds. 12
You
seconds.
got-
Personally,
One of the things,
Personally,
I would rather buy an old Mercedes diesel from like
Yeah.
the 80s that gets 45 miles to the gallon. Personally, I'm more of that speed. I like driving.
All right, Paul, why don't you jump in here? Matt's about to kill me, man.
I was
Throw 'em
going to
down.
say real quick.
the
one
thing that we should remember, because we talked about how important these 2026 IPOs are, right? For some of these companies, I think Waymo, who's rumored to go public at $100 billion valuation, that would be a real tell, and obviously that's going to impact what people think about Tesla as well.
Let me ask you a
Shouldn't we
question,
go
Matt.
through that with Lucid though?
Yeah, but you think about
They're
it.
different.
Waymo, much further down the pike, right? With far more autonomous trips, and in more cities.
They're
And
all
if
over.
they-
They're all over out in LA, man. They're everywhere out here.
And if they could get $100 billion valuation, that also boosts the valuation of Google, right? Because that's a nice chunk for that division as of now.
That's true. That's true.
I think there's one more piece of the puzzle that's really on the horizon for the whole EV industry, is that the solid state batteries are going to be like the game changer in
Yeah.
that whole field for sure. One company I like that's behind a lot of development of solid state batteries is Toyota. And
Oh,
they've got
Matt,
a lot-
I get what you meant. It doesn't take 15 seconds to charge your car. It takes like 4 hours. But
Right.
it takes
That's
me
the problem.
when I come home at night. I
It
just
takes
plug
15
it in.
seconds
That
for me
takes
to
4
fill it up.
seconds.
Right.
Well, that's an issue. I never go through that though. I'm not driving it to Idaho, and if you do, you
Solid
can
state
charge
battery.
overnight. But I
But
hear
Matt,
you. That is an issue.
you live in Los Angeles. I'm down here in the Bayou in South Carolina, and the problem is we don't have much infrastructure. So you have to get on the
Right.
app. You have to get on the
Yeah.
app, and then you say, "Oh my God, the next infrastructure is in Greenville. I got to drive,
Right.
45
Yeah. I
minutes."
mean, there's these Tesla like charging stations, that you can do
Yeah.
your car in a half hour.
They're
So yeah,
ubiquitous.
I don't know.
They're
Not really
ubiquitous
sure.
where you are. Where I am, it's kind of like, oh my God, we're like back in the Civil
Right.
War.
Let me ask you all you guys a question, right? So it feels like we talk about stocks on this show. We've talked about it all year. Seems like a lot of the stuff we talk about is like not public. What do you make of that, Matt? Like it seems like we're always like the good stuff is not is still private. I don't think that's
Well,
true, but why do we all feel that way, kind of?
I don't know that we all feel that way. I think you've got a couple of things. COVID killed the IPO market,
Yeah.
and it has not come back. You've had some interesting IPOs, but the IPO market's nothing, like it was. The other thing is everybody's worried about the valuations of all the companies that we like that we are talking about: Tesla, Nvidia, Oracle, on and on and on. And we're constantly talking about those companies. I mean, how many times on this podcast have we mentioned Nvidia? And at some point, it'd be nice to talk about something else. And you look at some of these companies that are private, and you look at the themes that we have talked about and we know are going to be the major themes going forward. Those companies are either going to be the winners in those themes or they're going to be massive players. So it would be really cool if they came public and if Elon buys my ticker symbol.
Yes.
Right. All right. Last question for Paul here from this whole spiel. So Matt used this term, the real monetizers. AI shows up in customer billing, right? Forget stock price, right? Where's the revenue? Like, who are going to be the revenue guys? Where's the money really going to flow? We got Nvidia, but after that,
Yeah.
who's
Matt,
going to make all the money?
Matt touched on this earlier. One of the greatest beneficiaries, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but over time, is going to be drug discovery,
Oh, no kidding.
right?
Yeah.
Particularly when we get to the next level. And so that'll be hugely important. I also think in industrial applications, particularly supply and logistics, another sweet spot for AI. The companies that are getting a lot of love or are, by some analysts, seen to be potential upside opportunities for monetization of AI in 26
Yeah.
are some of these old school software companies, right, that came to the dance with the software as a service model. I'm thinking Salesforce.com, Autodesk, Adobe, right? Those companies have been around forever. Yes, they're trying to transition to AI with AI agents, but I'm not sure that those guys won't get effed in the end, because
Really?
because the problem is their core business model, which they've been sticking with for decades, has really been disintermediated, and so hopefully they can transition to AI successfully. But even when they do, will the profits that they generate from these AI agents be as lucrative as their old enterprise resource planning SaaS business? I don't think so.
Right.
And so I've stayed away from most of those companies, except for the obvious software company, Microsoft,
Right.
because I do think software as a service. Yeah, I'm not crazy to say software is dead, and you've heard some of that coming out of Silicon Valley. But man, the software as a service model, I wouldn't even bet on those yet until they prove themselves, even at their discounted valuations.
Interesting. Yeah, because I bought recently the dip in CRM and Now.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones I have. So, I had not thought about it like that. I was more thinking like, yeah, how cool would it be if you integrate AI into this stuff?
I do
you know,
like that.
and
ServiceNow, even before the AI trend, has always been, I thought, the tightest managed company in that group. Even though
yeah.
Salesforce and Mark Benioff is just so loud and proud. He's always talking up things. Um, but yeah, I mean, ServiceNow. When I go into that space, that's the one I buy. I just admire them the most.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Right. All right. So now we're going to bucket D. These are like the losers. So like quote unquote, we'll monetize later. Our quote unquote, our TAM is infinite. Blah blah blah. Where are the big losers, Paul?
Well,
Oil.
Who do we short?
Yeah.
yeah.
What are we
Well,
short, Matt?
I just kind of, I'm
What are we
a
short?
I'm a tech focused analyst. I follow the news on all companies, but I'm not very good
Right.
on the other stuff. Um, but I just kind of, gave you one idea where I am contrarian,
Right.
negative, even at the
Yeah.
discount valuations for some of those SaaS software companies.
What do you think
Yeah, I
losers
mean, I,
here?
I think shorting is harder,
Oh yeah,
a lot harder
yeah,
than going long. I think what you do is you stay on these themes and then you look for companies that are doing things and charging for things that AI can do for you.
yeah.
And, companies that are in their earnings, announcements are talking about how AI is hurting. The textbook example, which I don't know if it's even in business now, I don't think I'd short it here, but is Chegg. Chegg was an
Oh
online
yeah.
learning company
Right.
that would charge you for stuff that I could get now on ChatGPT for 200 a month.
Yeah.
So companies like that. Other kind of textbook examples when you looked at kind of the surge in weight loss drugs, some of the gyms. If all of a sudden I don't have to go to I hate going to the gym, I'll just take Ozempic.
Right.
That type of deal. So, that is much harder. I do always like having some shorts, but certainly I've always got way more longs than I do shorts.
Right. Well, I didn't necessarily mean to short. I just meant, losers. You don't have to do. There's nothing actionable. Just an avoid it. Maybe avoid these. All right. Last thing. So you also talk about depreciation, Matt, in this, newsletter. Said depreciation catches up. A lot of AI spend becomes earnings story with lag. So what do you think about depreciation, Paul? You're like a finance professor type guy.
Yeah,
You always
yeah.
talk about this stuff.
Finance professor type guy.
He was a historian a little while ago.
Yeah, dude, that's
He's
me.
everything. It's a renaissance man like me, man.
Wears
You
many
know?
hats.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, trust me.
Renaissance men were cool like in the colonial period. Unfortunately, I live
Oh,
in the
sorry, bro.
21st century.
Well, I didn't get the memo on that.
So here's what I think. I don't ignore it. If Matt highlighted, he's absolutely right. We have 6-year depreciation schedules, or maybe longer for chips that might be defunct in half that time. However, I stick with the AI infrastructure plays because I never thought, even years ago, when ChatGPT was introduced in November 22, that we were going to be at this stage in 25 going into 26, looking at any of these infrastructure plays as earnings stories.
Right.
Because what happens is, you lengthen the life of the equipment. You do goose in the short term by lowering your depreciation expense earnings. So I'm not saying disregard earnings, but like the neo clouds and some of the other companies that I've been recommending in the valuation section of my initiation of coverage, I talk about revenue growth and execution. And so, yes, when these companies get closer to normalized profits, I do
Right.
think that is a worry. But as of now, I follow it. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. But I don't
So
see.
no, you're
I don't
very
see
bullish
these
on
earnings
this. You're very
stories.
bullish, right, man? You're very bullish. Yes, correct. Feels that way.
I'm. Oh, are you talking to Matt, my
Yeah,
boss,
Paul.
or me?
Paul, I'm talking to you, Paul. Yeah. talking
Oh,
to you, man.
I am bullish on the AI infrastructure builders, which are semis and some of the neo clouds. I'm not bullish yet on the software side or the monetizers.
Right.
But yeah, I have a contrarian view that the party will keep going. I hope I'm not being an absolute, ass, and go back to my internet days where you're holding you're the last guy at the party. Because
Right.
I'm going to have to get investors out before the bubble pops.
Right.
But I just feel so strongly about the spending pat for 26, and again, I don't believe that it's going to come crashing down in 27.
I'd rather be the last guy at the party than the guy who shorted 4 years too early.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then
So
I'll read Matt's newsletter to make sure he tells me when.
yeah, yeah. All right. So I asked everybody to say something like, give me a little prediction or recap. I didn't ask you, Paul, so you're going to cut off guard. But I'm going to start, right? And then Jeremy, why don't you go? Then Dan, then you, Paul, then Matt can finish up. It's his show. So, I'm a real recency bias guy. So last night I saw this movie called what did I say? The AI movie. I just threw myself away, but it was about DeepMind.
Yeah.
And Paul, you were just talking about healthcare, and they were able to fold chromosomes. I wasn't really clear what that was, but that's a lot, right? And so I mean, it just tells me like I'm really price oriented. Like if stocks are at 100 and they were just at 10, I think it's too high. That probably is wrong, obviously, right? But this is me, right? But this would tell you just the opposite. Like the real stuff, I think is coming, and I think Chat GPT, like a high end cool Google search is basically what people are using now. I mean, it's just a high tech search engine, really. But like in the future, dude, if you want to go watch this movie, man, they're folding chromosomes. I think the infrastructure build is coming bigger and bigger. I mean, they need a ton of compute for this. I think it's early stages. So I don't know.
It'll
We're in
be
a bubble
interesting.
today, but really early stages, in my opinion.
I don't know if it's early stages, but the narrative, particularly the last couple of weeks or last couple of months at 25, was it's bottom of the ninth kind of stuff.
I don't feel that way at all.
Maybe we're in the
You go watch
sixth or
this-
something, but
go
I
watch this
I feel
movie.
pretty good about it.
All right, Jeremy, you're up, bro.
You get into movies now. So I mean, aside from idiocracy, but when it comes to like some of the medical advances, I mean, we were talking about longevity being something that can affect the way the long-term market's going to look. And I mean, you look at some of these advances, kind of pointing towards bicentennial man becoming a biography
Right.
at some point, because you got the ability to 3D print a human heart now from someone's own fat cells, so it can't be rejected. I mean, that's kind of incredible. One that hits the market, that type of stuff.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, you've got so much in that field that you can really advance on already and be ahead of it. So if you start looking towards some of the developments that AI is going to bring into the medical field and the medical care field especially, things are going to be a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. All right, Dan. Danny boy, what do you got? You there?
Yesterday, I had a meeting with a woman who's a scientist for the DoD, and she's operating out in Oahu in Hawaii. And her job is to using AI to gene sequence the human genome. So if you have, like GLP-1s, they can basically put it into AI. It'll map out everything you need for your specific blood type or your BMI, or if you want to grow taller or grow more facial, whatever it is, they can now do that at the DoD. And I think that's probably in the next couple of years to run, you're going to see a lot of runway in that space.
All right.
I mean,
All right, Paul. What's up, bro?
Even cosmetic surgery has something to look forward to in that service.
Can they make me look like Tom Cruise?
Probably.
Probably make you look like Pat Neville.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. We had a guest on earlier this year, and he was a plastic surgeon. He said, "Yeah, you can only make, like if you're a 6, plastic surgery can only make you an 8." You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm not sure what that means. I think
Right,
it fits
that
somewhere.
means you could end up being a 2.
It could be-
Oh!
yeah. Well,
Oh!
well, someone told me once that 0 is not a number; it's a concept, bro.
Yeah,
So
got it.
I don't know.
Now,
All right, Paul, what's that? Go ahead.
one thing on this whole AI thing and why I think we're in the early innings, not just the drugs, but like I run a company. I have employees. Each one of my employees has a task that they do every day. Once
This doesn't
AI
sound
gets to the point,
You're all getting fired.
I know.
well, I mean, yeah. I mean, once AI gets to a point where I can just say, hey, ChatGPT, every day I need you doing this. It's going to do it. It's not going to complain. It's not going to ask for a raise.
Oh, you're
It's
breaking my
gonna,
heart over here, man.
it's going to have, a gazillion IQ, have access to everything. It's not going to have a bad day. You know, that's a game changer. Now, Pat, you're lucky. You won't be alive by this time because you're like 80. But
Oh, brother, man.
Unless the medical science leaps ahead.
Oh,
And then maybe.
I just swore silently, like really loud.
that's all right. We can swear on this.
All right, Paul, what you got? Close it up here, man. Give us some good future, past, anything you want.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you is, and Matt said this at the beginning, which almost made me laugh out loud, is all of these brainiacs, these market strategists at all the wirehouses, every year they come out with their forecast and they always say the market's going to be up 10%. Why? Because over the last 100 years, the S&P has been on average up 10%. Why are we paying this guy millions of dollars a year to give us, the same old, same old? I actually think the market is going to have a much better than average year next year.
Hope you're right.
And so
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about it. Just as Matt said, we have some pretty important drivers, including AI infrastructure. We probably have rates coming down 50 to 75 basis points. And if you like Trump or not, typically business friendly. So I feel pretty good about it as long as we don't get into any nasty wars, which also is the other part of Trump. So we'll see.
Right.
And if you
Yeah.
want the most up-to-date information, you should subscribe to the Financial Heat podcast and sign up to the newsletter to get it every morning in your inbox.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
my
thank you very
goodness.
much, Dan,
Dan,
for pointing out what
thank-
Jeremy and Pat should be pointing out.
Right. Or the AI. We're going to have the AI guy come on for the next few podcasts to do that work for us.
Yeah, we're
Pat.
going to get like Max Headroom back, but he's going to be AI.
Right.
Kind of cool.
Yeah,
All right,
Dan
man.
has no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right. No. That was Jim Carrey,
I
right?
remember him.
Dan,
Max
when were you born?
Headroom? No, Max Headroom was the 80s. Jim Carrey
Yeah.
wasn't even born.
Oh, that was just computer generated, or was that that was somebody?
No,
though,
that was
right?
actually somebody who
Yeah.
they made it look like he was computer
Yeah,
generated.
but that person wasn't famous or anything.
Dan, how old
I
are
don't
you?
think so.
How old am I?
Yes.
36.
Oh, God, I wish I was 36 again.
Right. Wow.
Now I have TrendSpider now. So like the new future economy for trading, I have a bot that pulls API data from 146 resources, and I can have it trade for me 24/7. So like
Well, I have underwear that's older than you, so there.
Right.
that's terrifying actually.
I've looked into building bots on TrendSpider, and it's actually pretty useful.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's
Wow.
that's one economy that's going to spin out of all of this. Is people are going to go, I don't need to trade anymore. I can go to the beach, or and I can just have my bot trade 24/7. Now that the Nasdaq's going to be trading 24/7 soon.
Right.
I might have to
mean,
just be a professor full time because I have no gig left in financial services.
Right.
I mean, on
Exactly.
the other side of it, you can teach a bot to think like you too.
Yes, there you go.
Right.
That's where the money is. Then you sell that as a service. You just monetize it.
Right. Yeah. I think most people just want a bot to do their laundry and stuff now, right? Really? That'd be plan A. No?
I want a
Do
robot
the
butler
dishes,
so bad.
Laundry. Well, I mean, I want more, but I'm just saying, That's,
Yeah.
I think that's what, I think people would buy a bot right now for whatever, 2, 3, 4 grand if you would do your laundry every single day.
I don't know if you saw my newsletter a week or so ago talking about robotics.
Right,
How a robot can't fold clothes yet.
That's a liability.
But that's coming.
Truly.
That would be
Well,
good.
no, but I'm just saying, I think that would be like at the marginal spot where my wife would be like, we're in. You know what I mean?
Dude, you could get a divorce.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like there's a Tesla guy right at the street. We could just walk down there and buy a bot. I bet you could lease it or something. It's $5,000 bot. You could probably lease for $100 a month or whatever. Be doing your laundry for you, and I think every person would be going for that. I would guess. I don't know, maybe not. All right,
I wouldn't mind one.
what do you think, Dan? No, yeah.
I like it. I think if divorce was a VIX, then Matt would be placing call options on it right now. If that's the case.
I mean, at least let's get a probability market on Pat getting divorced.
Dude, Oh man, that's
brutal.
brutal, dude. You know how hard I try to stay married, man. I try really hard, dude. Trust me.
It must be harder for your wife,
Hey
though.
man, I'm going on 21 years over here.
All right, guys. Happy New Year, man. Paul, thanks
All
a
right.
lot, brother.
Hey, you guys, I
Thanks,
love the
guys.
show, man.
See you next year.
Thanks for joining
That's
us.
Right
Next
on.
Next
Take
year.
care, guys.
All right.